Are you a working drummer?
Or you're not getting any work.
Hi, I'm Felipe.
And I'm the other Felipe. Welcome to the other Felipe.
So, you're the guy who's more active in the gig world than I am. So tell me, what is it that the people who are hiring drummers, they want?
This is all about my hair. I guess.
Okay, that's why I don't got any gigs. There you go, now I know. It's the hair.
That's an interesting question because it's not what most drummers would think, I guess. Really, the things that you do they're gonna please the drummers and not the same things that are gonna please the singers. And the singers usually are the guys who are gonna hire you. So I play for loads of blues singers, guitar players, and blues rock artists and original artists, and tribute bands, functional bands, all that kind of stuff. And usually the singer is in charge, or it might be the bass player, doesn't matter. But the most important thing is what they expect from you is that you do your job without being noticed.
Okay.
I think
So it's like the referee in a football match.
exactly. If we're talking about the referee,
It's because the referee's
Yeah.
not very good.
yeah, you might after the game you might say, who was the referee? I don't know. Well, yeah, probably he did a good job. So
if nobody asks who's the drummer,
exactly. If
you did a good job.
Exactly. And if the drummers are talking too much about you after the gig, maybe you're kind of overplaying or doing things that you shouldn't be doing.
And maybe then the singer. Let's assume the singer is the boss, and then the singer may not be calling you for the second gig.
Exactly.
Okay, in the functions thing, how important it is to play the songs exactly as they were recorded.
To be fair, I don't remember anyone actually playing those songs note by note, because in the function scene, what you do is, you have to know around 40 to 60 songs to play with different function bands. And the most important thing is the structure and the groove. So now when you say like play exactly the same song, funny or not, I noticed loads of drummers try to learn the fills. Oh, there's an interesting fill in that song. I want to learn it. Yeah, maybe you should be focusing on the groove, because if you play the right grooves and follow the right structure, and that means the dynamics and the stops and all that stuff. So if you do that properly and you lock with the bass player on the groove, then people are going to be happy. If you do your own fill instead of the original, or if you skip the drum fills or that kind of stuff, you might, or that might not affect your performance. That's what I think.
I remember. So it's a good idea if we don't listen with the ears of a musician. If we try to listen more with the ears of the audience, because I remember years ago playing in a covers band. And there was a U2 song that the singer wasn't sure if we should do it or not, because he kept saying, yeah, but at this part there's this acoustic guitar playing a D all the time. And the guitarist told him, like, don't worry about it. You hear it, I hear it, but the audience doesn't have a clue.
And I don't think they would say, oh, I didn't like that band because they didn't play that D chord over that specific
with
part.
the acoustic guitar on.
Yeah, that doesn't mean not being careful with arrangements. It's not the case. I mean, the point is, if you're a working musician, you have a reduced amount of time to work on learning songs and preparing your parts. So I think, which parts are you going to learn first? Which things you have to nail for like tomorrow's gig, not like for the next 7 months of gigs or whatever. So if there's long-term goals that you might work on, like I want to improve my paradiddles because I might do a fill with paradiddles. Do you need that for tomorrow? So if you don't need that for tomorrow, focus on learning the right parts, on the most important parts of the songs you have to play. And not only the groove, I think the right tempo for a song.
Okay.
That's another point. If you play to a click, that's easier.
Yeah, I know, but so that's a very important thing. So try to keep the original tempo.
How do you do that?
Well, you bring a metronome to the gig.
That's a good one.
I
So then,
would-
yeah. So if you don't work with a metronome on a daily basis, then you're gonna struggle. Yeah.
Well, I think we are finishing the second decade of the 21st century. So by now, all drummers in the world should know that they need to practice with a metronome. You know.
Well, there's something that happened to me. I've recently left one of the bands I was playing with, and the guy got in touch with me saying, "Look, I got this other drummer, but he's complaining of like playing to a click." I said, "Well, he can't play to a click." I said, "No, he can play to a click, but he finds it a bit annoying." And the band relies heavily on backing tracks, and they say, "Well, I'm
Well,
sorry to say
yeah,
that
if-
it's his job."
If the band relies heavily on backing tracks, there's no way out. You
Yeah.
need to play to click. There's no drummer who play. There's no drummer in the world. Doesn't matter the name you say right there. If they're playing to backing tracks, they have a click.
Yeah,
It's
There's-
impossible
there's
not
no
to.
way out of that.
Yeah.
And some gigs, I mean, there's some gigs that you're not going to be hired if you're not really good playing to a click. So that's not a short-term skill, not a short-term goal. If you wanna improve your drumming, okay, I want to learn how to play to a click in a couple of weeks. I'm so sorry if you haven't played to a click yet.
Yeah, you need.
It's going to take time,
It's
loads
just-
of time. So
just like anything else in drumming, it takes time.
yeah. So yeah, the other thing about timekeeping that I think it's important is if you're not playing to a click, I believe you need a strong reference in the song that guides you. For instance, if you know the chorus really well, if it's a song that you've heard many times in your life, so okay, I know that song really well. I might not be sure about how to start, like what's the tempo for the verse, but I'm pretty sure it's the same as the chorus. So how do I start the song? Sing the chorus in your head, just a short phrase of the chorus with 2 beats. That's going to be the 1 and 2, and then you sing, and then you count 3 and 4 and start the song. So that's one of the tips I give to my students when they're learning how to play with a band.
Yeah, when I was a student at MI, I remember seeing a teacher of mine that whenever he had to play, because we had a lot of live playing. The name was actually called Live Playing Workshop, where there were 2 songs of a given style that you needed to play that day, and the band made up by teachers would play the first time. And I remember this teacher of mine bringing a metronome to the side of the drum. He wasn't actually playing to the click or the rest of the band, but before he counted in, he would start the metronome at the speed, at the tempo of the song. Then he would get that tempo, he would turn off the metronome and then count the band in. People are going to rely more on you as a drummer because they know that, I'm not going to say that you have to have perfect tempo, but the rest of the band knows that you're not going to count in rushing or dragging. You're going to count in roughly at the same speed the song goes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's an interesting thing about just listening to 4 beats and start playing instead of listening to the click throughout the whole song. That means you get the vibe of the tempo, the general idea of the tempo. You might speed up a little bit, you might slow down a little bit, but you're going to be around that tempo. So it's more loose for some bands. If you're playing like blues and jazz gigs, I mean, people don't want you to play to a click, they want it to be more loose. But if you have that reference, those first 4 clicks and the first bar, and then you jump into the song, and you play pretty much that same tempo, but not that, how can I put it?
Rigid.
Yeah, not that rigid. A bit more loose in a musical way. Not loose because you're sloppy, you can't keep the tempo. Just a bit more loose.
Okay, but now we so far we have talked about technicalities like knowing your music, knowing the tempo, getting used to playing to the click track, practicing with a click track.
Practicing.
But how about attitude, professional attitude? What is it that most of the people who hire you are looking for?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Again, there's a basic thing that is comparing to what drummers want to see and what drummers expect from you. And I'd say that if you turn up for a gig in a small venue and you bring 3 rack toms, 2 floor toms, 4 crashes, china, splash, all that stuff, the drummers are going to look at you and think, wow, that's so cool. I want to play that drum kit. Yeah, the drummers are going to think that. You might think that. But guess what? Your bandmates are going to hate you. That's one of the
First
things.
of all, because you might take the whole stage just for your drum kit.
Exactly, and most of the time to set up, and also you're not going to use all that stuff depending on the situation. So they think, well, you're just showing off. Well, why are you bringing all of that? I've seen people bringing massive kits for pub gigs, believe it or
Wow.
not. So why? I mean, so if you can, do you actually need a floor tom for a pub gig, an acoustic gig maybe? I've played many gigs with a small kick, snare, hi-hat, and pair of brushes. Many gigs like that. And guess what? I never heard anyone saying, could you bring an extra tom next time? Never heard that. But I've heard once, is it possible to play without that floor tom because we're playing a small stage? So that's the same approach, going back a little bit to the musical part of it, the technicalities, is I've heard from a teacher of mine long ago, if you don't play a single fill in a whole gig, you're not going to hear anything from anyone in the band. If you play one fill where you shouldn't play, they're going to point that out.
Exactly.
So that's the same thing. If you bring an extra part of your drum kit that you don't need, like you don't need the extra floor tom, or you don't need the extra china cymbal, whatever, why would you bring that? That's one of the things. And the other is, well, the 2 basic things that most people don't think about. Turn up in time, like be there on the right time, or maybe early if you can, and well, be a nice guy.
Yeah, be a nice guy. Okay, be a nice guy is a little bit too general. So,
Yeah.
what in your vocabulary being a nice guy means?
It means, what do you expect from the other musicians? You expect them to acknowledge your hard work. You expect them to treat you well and be nice to you and laugh at your jokes. In my case, yeah.
So you'll have to laugh at their jokes.
Yes, exactly.
All right,
yeah, if you
okay.
want them to laugh at your jokes. Maybe they laugh at my jokes because of my accent, but I don't care. So I can just keep telling bad jokes.
Doesn't matter. You're winning.
But yeah, so yeah, that kind of attitude. So what do you expect from people? And are you delivering that? So, singers don't respect the drummers, they only think about themselves, says the guy who's bringing 3 rack toms to a gig. And who's overplaying doing the vocals.
Yeah.
So, look at yourself first and try to analyze what kind of things you're doing, what kind of attitudes you have. They're not necessarily productive, and they're not necessarily good for your bandmates, I think. So sometimes it's hard to point those things out, but like being a nice guy is not to pretend you like everyone, it's not to pretend you're having a great time playing songs that you don't like, but there's a matter of respecting there. So I've seen people say, oh, I'm going to play a funk song, same terrible set list, I hate that, I don't want to do it, but it's for the money. Well, if it's for the money, you can get a job, there's loads of jobs out there.
Exactly.
If you chose to be a musician,
That's your job.
Yes, your job, and you have to respect the songs you're playing, the music you're playing, and the artists you're playing with. So, just be proud of being there, and
More
be
than
happy to be
To
there.
be honest with you, nowadays that we know that the number of paid gigs are diminishing everywhere in the world, not just here in London, but everywhere in the world. It's not only being proud of your job, but be grateful that you can actually make a living
Yeah.
as a working drummer.
Yeah.
Just for people to have a perspective. How many times a week do you play, roughly?
4 times an average, yeah.
So in average, you're hearing from a guy who plays in average 4 times a week.
Yeah, when I'm on tour, I might play 6-7 times.
Well,
a week. Yeah.
but
When I'm not, if I'm just in London, I would do 2 or 3 gigs. But it's very rarely that I play less than 3 gigs a week. So, and the interesting thing is, I have a couple of depth drummers that I rely on, or even if I can't if I can't choose my depth drummers, the singers, they have me and another two drums they would hire, and I might have I might get a call from another 2, 3 guys when they can't do the gigs. And funny thing is, those 3, 4, 5 drummers are getting all the gigs in a certain circle.
Because
Not
they
because
have-
of their paradiddles.
I'm pretty sure it's not. You know, don't get us wrong. Of course, you have to practice your paradiddles. Of course, you have to
Yeah.
practice your rudiments. But you need to know that there's practice and there's playing. It's two different beasts. No drummer in the world, the ones that we know about, the famous ones, approach a song thinking, I'm gonna play the reverse Rata McHugh Flam, whatever. It's about the music. So if you listen to the song Get Lucky by Daft Punk, the drummer in that song playing a disco beat. There's a real drummer, it's not a drum machine. It's a real drummer playing a very simple but very good, simple doesn't mean bad, a very simple but very good disco groove. The drummer is Omar Hakim. He's the one
You
playing
know
that
what? I
song.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of him. Is great drummer.
There's a video on YouTube where he explains why he decided to play that beat in particular.
Yeah. So that and that's an interesting thing because you're thinking about what does that song need, and ideally you wouldn't be thinking at all. Just play the most natural groove you can play. That's in a context in which you're creating something like he did. Like you're going to come up with a groove because someone asked you to be the drummer in that session. So studio sessions are also that kind of stuff. There's a reduced amount of time, again, because there's less money in the industry. So if people hire you to record an album, what do they expect from you? Is to save time. And that's the one thing they want from you. in
So
studio. Save time.
question number 3, there's a lot of sub questions, but
Yeah.
main question number 3 is, how important is it to do your homework?
Well, how can I put it? You have to do it every day. That's it. That's how important it is. If you skip one day of practice, you're gonna feel like, well, I'm not as good as I was yesterday, and someone else is practicing somewhere, so they might get.
Yeah. And
So it's a simple thing, and practicing again. That depends on what you're doing. If you're playing a metal band, you have to practice to be fast. Your double kick groove has to be really fast. So you have to practice speed every day. If you're playing in a funk band, or for more than one funk band, you need your ghost notes to be up to date. So again, there's loads of things to practice. A whole world of information out there, but you have to pick and choose the most important things. Focus on them, because they are the ones who are going to guarantee your gigs, and study the other stuff when you have the time.
Yeah, I've heard from Alex Acuna last year. He's saying, if you don't practice for one day, you will know it. If you don't practice for a week, your teacher will know it. And if you don't practice for a month, everybody will know it.
Exactly, Zizi. So I have a question.
Okay.
So you've probably stayed in the same band for longer than I did with most of the jobs I do, because I'm mainly a session drummer. I've been lucky enough to play for the same artist for a couple of years, 3 years, in some cases. But you still work with original music and play with the same band. How does that affect your attitude and your ability to play drums? Do you take it for granted? Okay, this is my band, so it's fine. Whatever I do, they're going to be happy with. Or I can run the risk of messing up from time to time. Or you still have the same attitude as if you were a session musician.
I've been trained most of my life, and especially after spending a year at Musicians Institute in LA, to be a session musician. So regardless of, I played with the same band for 8 years, and even though, for example, the songs, there was one song that we used to open every gig with. Every gig, from the very first gig we played, until the last time I played with them. The song that started and ended the gig are exactly the same. And I always play them as if it were the first time I was playing them. Especially the first one, because the first one is the one that's gonna make the first impression of the band on stage. So if you don't, if you go on autopilot, you know, you run the risk of the song not sounding, you're not doing justice for that song. Because in 8 years, let's say, I played that song live, I don't know, 300 times.
Yeah.
But for some people, it was the first time they were,
And maybe the only time.
and maybe the only time.
Yeah, that's the thing I usually say to people. Again, it's not only we're talking about respecting the artist and your bandmates, but there's someone paying for the tickets and
Yeah.
coming to see the band, and for some of those people, for most of them, they're going to see you once in a lifetime.
Exactly.
So they might never see your band again. Maybe they're tourists, they're in town for a weekend, and they're going to come and see your band. And you don't want to leave a bad impression like, the show was nice, but the drummer looked like he didn't really care about
Yeah,
the music.
exactly.
And I've seen people playing like this.
I know, not
Like, I want to finish this, go back home and eat my pasta. Don't,
exactly.
like-
Yeah. There's one thing I've learned years ago from a guitarist I used to play with. And the singer in the band, funnily enough, the singer, because usually they're the ones who try to look their best. But the singer in the band kind of came dressed like he was, you know, at home watching TV and then just remember, oh, I have a gig. And
I've seen Robert Plant dressing like that once, but he's Robert Plant.
yeah, but if you're not Robert Plant, you better not do it. So the singer came for the sound check, and then at some point at the sound check, the singer said that he was not gonna go home, and the guitar player said, "No, you are going home, and you're changing your clothes because there are people who are coming from their houses to this venue. You know, we're a covers band. They're not coming because of us." But the thing is, they're gonna dress up because they're gonna be out for the night and they wanna meet people and people are gonna see them. And the least you could do is to look presentable on the stage.
Yeah.
Because people are coming, they're gonna dress up in their houses and they're coming specially for this night.
Yeah.
So be respectful for the audience, you know, be professional. And you might be the greatest musician in the world. If you look on stage like you were just at the bus stop and then somebody said, "Oh, we need a musician, come here," you're gonna leave a bad impression to the audience. For us drummers, a little bit easier. You can look good just from the waist up.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about your trousers,
Yeah.
or your shoes that much. But actually, yeah, unless you're walking through the audience before the gig. And that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
exactly.
It's a simple thing, like the way you dress. It's something that means that you care about it. You spend some time preparing yourself. So if you spend some time choosing your clothes, that means you spend some time learning the songs as well. So
Exactly.
You're a guy who invests time in preparation. So if I could choose two things that are the most important things for working musicians, that's preparation. That involves a lot of stuff. And don't be a dickhead. I don't know if I can say dickhead in the video. If you just cut it.
Well, you just did it.
Dickhead. Don't be a dickhead. So like as I say, if you don't want to be nice, if you're in a bad day, just stay quiet.
Yeah.
Just don't talk. Do your stuff.
I've seen many gigs where, you know, one of the musicians probably wasn't in a very good day because, you know, we're just human, and that person tried to do the best job they could, and the rest of the band left them way, you know, we understand you're not in a very good mood, so you do your job over there. We'll be over here. If you decide to join us, fine. So basically, do your homework, which involves practicing and learning the songs you need to play, and be a nice guy. Basically, that's it. Well, anything you want to add?
I think that's all. I mean, there's loads of stuff, but it would be an endless conversation.
Yeah,
if we talk about
and they
this,
have
so-
a life. They have to.
Yeah, you guys have other stuff to do.
Yeah.
So I hope that helped to clarify some issues and to give you an idea of what is to be a working musician.
Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you. See ya.